Let's do a quick review of proactive and retroactive interference. Remember that proactive interference is when the first thing you learned makes it difficult to remember more recent things you learned. So if your first language was Italian, and then later in life you learn French, if you're experiencing proactive interference, which one will come to mind more quickly? Your first language of Italian or your second language of French? That's right, Italian. Italian was your first language. It comes to mind more quickly. One way to remember the difference between proactive and retroactive interference is that P comes before R. Proactive interference is when the first P comes before R. The first thing comes to mind more readily than the second thing you learned. Let's try another example of proactive interference. Imagine that golf was the first sport you learned. And then you learned how to play hockey. If you're experiencing proactive interference, which motion will come to mind more readily? If you said golf, you're right. Now let's do some retroactive interference examples. Last year, the kindergarten teacher had a student who pronounced her first name Megan. This year, she has a new student in class, and she pronounces her name Megan. If you're experiencing retroactive interference, which pronunciation is going to come to mind more quickly? Megan, the second pronunciation is going to come to mind more quickly. That's how retroactive interference works. All right, ready for one last example? Here's your first password, and here's your second. If you're experiencing retroactive interference, which one do you remember? Yes, it's the second password you can remember, not the first with retroactive interference.